Time is precious. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. So we're just going to do a walkthrough of Blam and how it works. I'm on my local machine, so as you can see here, the URL here is localhost. It's the same thing as blam.io, just it's my local machine as opposed to dealing with network issues on production.
And we do have some content kind of explaining some of these areas more in depth coming as well, but we're hoping to go through it more in depth today. But just
good morning.
Morning, afternoon for me, but morning.
Yeah.
Morning.
We're good. We're just kicking off our demo.
Cool. I can send out a tweet now. I'm gonna sit in here, but I'm gonna put my thing on mute because I'm still like got things to do. But
okay.
Obviously another friendly face in here. Bring some more people in.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. No worries.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was just saying that we were working on some content about this specifically because this is just more of a little low-key demonstration this morning, and we're trying to have some more polished pieces of content kind of coming out to explain these things either in depth or more of a snapshot as we go forward.
Yep.
Awesome. Shall I send out a tweet now? Or are you planning on going ahead in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or before that?
I think we're gonna start pretty soon because everyone's time on a Monday is restricted. So
yeah, just send that tweet. We're also recording, so they can see it on YouTube later.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. All right. Well, good luck. I'll send out a tweet now, and then I'll be in the background.
Okay, great. So thanks everybody again for showing up this morning. So we're just gonna do the basics of how to generate your collection all the way to deploying your contract onto the blockchain. And so let's just kind of jump in. So here you can see is our first step. We're just asking for basic information about your project, the name of your project, what you want your acronym or call sign to be, and then if you want to add a description to your project, you add it here as well. The name is going to be the name of your contract. So like for Wunks, we have Wunks V2 as the name of our contract, and the acronym I think is also Wunks V2.
And once these items here are deployed, they cannot be changed. That's correct.
Yes. So as you can change these prior to deployment, but once you deploy your contract, changing these will not alter your contract.
You're not able to.
You're not able to because the contract's deployed. So we're going to keep the description blank because it's optional, but name and acronym are required. So we're going to move to the next step by clicking save. And so now it's asking us to start uploading our traits. So we're not going to go through the whole Wunk trait system because there's 80 of them, but we're going to do our Wunk traits because it's the raw assets that we have. And so here we'll do our types first. So we have some zombies.
And as Patrick's doing this, these are layered in the order that they are input in.
Correct. So when you input your traits and your features, you want your bottommost layer first, and then every additional layer kind of builds upon the prior layer. When we layer the PNGs in, this is the priority order that it has to be done in. Otherwise, your images will come out a little
and while
suboptimal.
Patrick's loading these up, I think as a technical person, that's kind of obvious for him. But for me, as someone that's not as technical on the coding side, I know having some kind of instructions around this, especially for an artist, that they're realizing that they're kind of building these layers. Like we want to make sure that we're very clear. Here, Patrick's also adding weighting amounts. So if you see here where he's putting in different traits and there's those weights, that's what gives you rarity. And we have some content coming on how you build rarity in your collection, but those weighting, it's a statistical, statistical formula, I guess you could say, that's kind of how our algorithm is built, where you can really put any number in there, but we suggest 1 to 100 for those weights. 1 would be the most rare. So if you want something that is super rare, you would put a 1 in there. If it's you want it all the time or more common, you would put a higher number. So that's kind of the amount. It's the amount of traits that your collection has, and the weighting that really generates the rarity in generative collections. And all of that rarity collection is something that, or the rarity aspects are something that the the contract, the contract owners or the artist that is working with this, that is something that you completely control. You control the creation of your rarity within your collection. So I think we have, like I said, for wonks, and I've talked about this a little bit, there's 80 different trait types. So if you kind of map that out computationally, I think it was over 10 million permutations of potential wonks you could make from just 80 types. And then you factor in your rarity from there. We've seen collections recently that have come out with 250, 300 trait types. And you can see that there's a lot of, I would say, low percentages in collections. But I know we've had a conversation here where you want to kind of balance out. We would suggest, commonalities with rarity, because if everything's rare in a collection, you might want to ask yourself, is anything really rare? But those are things that contract and project runners really need to decide for themselves. And I think that there can be definitely like education for artists and future NFT projects around that, because we've seen a lot of variables across the board, project to project.
Yeah. So what we've done here is we've added a couple of traits. So we have our types, which is our bottommost layer. We have 5 of those. We added eyes, of which we have 4. We added hair, one of which is none. If you ever want to do a none feature, it's just a transparent PNG with nothing else in it. And if you use the feature name none, it doesn't come over the API. This was requested by a couple of people that, if your trait doesn't have a property, to not send it over the API. So that's a good little feature there that's not really documented. And then we have a couple of eyewear. You'll notice that OG glasses is at 8, VR is at 1. So when we go to generate, we'll probably see much less of the VR than the green sunglasses or the OG glasses. So we're going to click save and move on. And so based on how many traits we've used here or inputted here, we can generate 300 tokens. The formula for that is simply however many features you have per trait multiplied against each other.
So again, we're doing an edited version here.
Yeah, an abbreviated version here.
Abbreviated version just for time's sake.
So we're going to try and generate 150. What this does right now in the back end, it takes a little bit of time to warm up, but it goes and downloads your assets fresh. Because if you decided to take, it's already done. Okay, well,
we'll explain it anyway.
Yes, so it's supposed to take time. What happens at this stage is at any of these steps, you can leave and come back and start at that step where you left off. So given the nature of how this is built, when you click generate, it goes and downloads your assets fresh. It stores them in memory, and then it starts to generate your assets. So like if you have 100 traits, the first download of those assets in this step is going to take a little bit of extra time. But yeah, so you can see here roughly what they look like. We see some aviators. We have one VR so far. We have another VR. But you can see it's definitely OG glasses and the shadow, the green sunglasses, much more than the VRs because we put the VR at 1. So that kind of makes sense. We put the hair type of none at 35. So you can also see there's a lot more bald wonks in this example than ones with hair because it was weighted 35 versus the other weights. So we're going to continue. And if you have questions, you can put them in the AMA questions area or just unmute your mic. You know, we're here. This is a conversation, not just a one-way channel.
Yeah. There's nothing formal about this morning.
Yeah,
I think
zero.
This is just for you guys and to get the information out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll just quickly chuck in as well that we've got a around 2-minute video that's coming out later today as well, which will explain all of this, but a bit more like, in more quickly. So if you miss anything or you don't remember anything, then obviously there will be that later on to come back to as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Absolutely.
So after you generate your tokens, we generated 150. Some collections like to add these legendary one of ones. We have a few. We have the Paris Hilton, the Elizabeth the Great, etc. But this is totally optional. We're just going to click skip for this phase.
It's Catherine the Great.
Catherine the Great. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday. I haven't had enough coffee.
I know. We have another pot on the stove right now.
Yes.
So
And so after you're done with your generating your assets and your one of ones, now you come into your tokenomics. You get to set your token price in ETH. For Wonks, that was 0.025 ETH. You get to set the max purchase per transaction. We did 10. I wouldn't recommend going much above like 15 or 20. As you increase this and people mint more, it uses more gas and it increases the likelihood of a failure if there isn't enough gas in the block, or it gets pushed off to the next block and then it sells out. So we were successful at 10 and we think that's a good number, but you could go higher than 10 if you wanted to.
I think you want to be mindful of your community too, because if you have a lot of failed transactions and burn gas, that's something that can be, it's very detrimental to your holders and to the people that are trying to purchase. So that's something that you really want to be mindful of as well, that you're building in features that are taking kind of your community in mind too, that when during the minting process, and you don't want to see those failed transactions.
Exactly. So we set our token price, we set our max purchase, and then if you're allotting any free tokens, you can set that here. The free tokens happen at the front end of your sale. So if you set 500 free tokens, the first 500 are free, not like the second 500. That's typically how I've seen sales like this work. That's how our contract is set up through Blam. I'm going to keep this at 0 just to, we can actually, it doesn't matter. We'll do 100 free tokens.
These as well, this is one of those areas that once the contract is deployed, you can't change it. This is hard written from a contract standpoint into the deployment. And the free tokens, that's something that's honestly really a marketing decision, how you're wanting to to kind of run that aspect of your project. And so those are some of those decisions that you really should be making before you get to this stage.
Yeah, exactly.
You really need to have a plan.
And the second one of max free per wallet. So we want to make sure that not one holder is getting all of your free tokens.
Yeah.
And so there's a state variable in your contract that actually tracks how much each wallet can hold. And so that's the number you set here.
Yeah, if there were too many free tokens in someone's wallet, it could potentially undermine your project or undercut it.
Yes.
So you want to avoid that.
Exactly. So we have 100 free tokens. We have our price. We have our tokenomics set up. So we're just going to click save. And now we get to our payouts area. So this is an area where you get to bake in addresses and payments into your contract when you withdraw. So if you're working with an artist and or a dev, and they say, well, I want to be paid when you withdraw, not a secondary payment on the blockchain, you would put their address in here and assign the percentage so that they would be paid upon withdrawal of the contract. It's pretty common for teams to do this and request this. And it does eliminate a lot of the overhead of having to deal with secondary payments and transmitting payments.
And you can set those percentages too, that if somebody is a 40% partner and then a 60%, things like that, you could set those. And then Blam's fee is also in here, as well as the percentage that's going to the Wonk Community Fund. Those percentages, that's all baked in and really just very kind of explicit and transparent.
Yes. One note. Oh, I forgot what the note was. I forgot what I was going to say. Okay.
You'll remember it.
Yeah, I'll remember. Yeah. Anyway, so this happens when you withdraw from the contract. The 7% here is, as Natalie said, Blam and Wonk Community Fund. So you can add an additional 93% if you wanted to. This does not have to sum up to 100%. Whatever is left over outside of the percentage goes to the contract owner's address. So if you, as the creator, deployed the contract, when you withdraw, whatever is unallocated via this percentage goes to your wallet.
Oh, was it about, was it the note about the Wunk holder wallet versus contract? I know we got that question.
No.
Okay.
We can go over that.
Okay.
So we're going to click save. This setup looks good for me. And so we're going to ask a few more questions just to get your contract really underway and finalized. So a lot of teams like to reserve tokens either for giveaways or for internal team members. You can set that number here. You could also leave it as 0 if you're not doing any giveaways. We have allow list functionality. We have 2 types of allow lists right now. One is for Wunk holders only, and then the other one is a Merkle tree. So what's pretty popular right now in the space are these whitelist collabs to work with other projects, to synergize and share utility with the community to get access to your whitelist. All of that is done via Merkle trees. And so what we have here is essentially a dual whitelist where you have your one collector whitelist and a Merkle tree.
We've been trying to gravitate towards allow list.
Sorry, allow list. Yes, apologies.
I know, it's just, it's the vernacular that it's just going to take some time.
Allow list. Apologies. So,
but they're in essence the same thing.
Yes, they are the same thing. So here we're just going to say Wunk holders can mint 1. You still get the Merkle tree allow list functionality, so you can still do whitelist collabs if you want to. Did I say allow? I think I said it right that time.
I know.
Oh
it just takes time. You trained yourself one way, and it's just untraining yourself. So,
Yep. And so when the contract's deployed, if you can't really alter token reserve or allow list, that's hard set into your contract. But this mint set, date, time, pre-sale, and reveal, you can alter these. These are not baked into the contract. They're solely for the Blam system, and I'll show you where that ends up. So for the mint date, we're just going to set March 5th. And since we have an allow list, we have a pre-sale, we're going to set that the week before on the 26th. Reveal dat is completely optional. You can reveal at mint and leave it blank. If you want to do some reveal party a week after your mint, you can certainly put that in here. Neo Tokyo Punks that went through our system had a 3-day reveal. So that functionality is there if you want to do it. We're not going to do that for the demo.
And again, that's kind of those I would say those marketing decisions that you want to make. But you can make some of those decisions, as your community grows. Some of those decisions might be made as you realize kind of where your project trajectory is headed.
Exactly. And so that's it. Now we're ready to generate our contract. So we're just going to click the generate contract button. So this takes it can take up to 2 minutes to generate. It uses Solidity here to end all the things you've answered, from supply to free tokens, price. Everything right now is being put into your Solidity contract.
So while this is generating, one of the questions that we've gotten time and time again, and I think that there's kind of a lack of understanding, is that people tend to think that the cost of deployment for contracts on the Ethereum network is directly related, that there's a correlation between the number of tokens that you are choosing. So for instance, people think, and it's actually incorrectly, that like a 6,000 collection would cost the same, or would cost less than a 10,000 collection. And it doesn't matter the number of tokens in your collection. It matters those features. It's the size of the contract that matters for the deployment cost, for those gas fees when you're deploying. So what makes a contract larger would be some of those features that you're deciding: your allow list, your reserve tokens, your free mints. All of those aspects are actually what can cost a contract to be more for the deployment fees. So that's something to just kind of really keep in mind, because there can definitely be a fluctuation with those gas prices and gas fees. I think we've been seeing the past month contracts deployed at, it was about 0.2. I think it was 0.2 to 0.8. I had said that incorrectly at some point in time, but it was 0.2 to 0.8. Yes. depending on kind of those features that were baked in. And I would always suggest not deploying your contract during a gas war.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are probably times of day that would just be more beneficial to you as a as a project head to think about deploying a contract versus others. So when there's some big hyped up mint and everybody's fighting for gas, don't deploy your contract. Just wait for a little bit. There's no reason to do that right then, because then you'll see increased fees.
Yep. And so now we're ready to deploy our contract. I'm just going to move my MetaMask over to Rinkeby because I don't want to deploy this onto the testnet. And so now you can see I'm on Rinkeby. And so now we're going to deploy our contract to Rinkeby. And so now you should see MetaMask pop up. These fees do not mirror what you'll see on production. You can't infer anything from Rinkeby fees. But we're going to click confirm to deploy our contract. And so now it's sort of network dependent. The last time we did a demo, it failed, weirdly enough, which I've never seen happen before. But it should take about a minute or two to get this onto Rinkeby.
That was a Rinkeby issue.
It was a Rinkeby issue, yes.
Some of those things are out of our control.
Yes. And so now you can see our contracts deployed. And now here's your dashboard of all the different things you can do from within Blam. You could also perform these actions on Etherscan if that's what you prefer. But you can withdraw your balance. There's no balance here, so it'll error. You can turn your sale on. You can turn your pre-sale on. Change your mint price. And then we just remind you the tokens that you generated from before. And so here's our contract address. We can, I don't know if it's in Etherscan yet, because sometimes Etherscan is a little slow, but let's find out if it's there. It's not there yet, and that's okay. So our contract is on the blockchain, and now I'm just going to look at my database real quick and show you what your mint page looks like. Let's see.
And I know with this kind of function, we're building in some additional functionality to Blam, and we've been continually working on that. But this is kind of that, I would say, the base functionality of our first tool that has been launched with Blam, which is the generative collection, kind of the actual generative part of it.
Yes.
And there will be some additional tools, and we have been working with some different collections because other people have obviously like different needs. So I think during this time of beta, which has been really amazing, is that we've been extremely hands-on with the different projects that have come through us. If there's specific needs that they need to have met, it actually gives us an opportunity to build that functionality into Blam. So this is really just kind of the starting point. This was the first tool that we've launched, but it's just been really wonderful. I think seeing the projects, especially having such a hands-on experience with the first few that have come through here, because it gives us an opportunity to build more and to do things better. And I think it gives those projects as well. It's definitely it's a much more kind of intimate, involved experience than just kind of this, blank box tool. They have a lot of access, especially to Patrick and his knowledge base, which has been phenomenal. So here's your mint page. I know it looks pretty bare. If you saw Neo Tokyo Punks on production, it looks a little better. Neo Tokyo Punks. They have an image. They asked for a different font. It's just a Google font, so we got that going for them. But that's kind of what it looks like. So you can see here, this is where those mints at and pre-sale at fields come in. So these are just timers that decrease every minute. You can see our total supply here, the name of your contract, the amount of ETH. I do need to create a field so people can upload an image to show in their mint page. We also have iframe functionality for this, so you can embed it in your own website. The only issue and caveat with the iframe is mobile MetaMask will not allow you to mint off of it. Like iframes are sort of known in the web field as a thing that can have security issues. So I totally understand why MetaMask blocked that.
So we're thinking of another way to allow people to embed this mint functionality into their website. iframe was just the easiest thing, but it didn't exactly match up to our expectations. So what we're going to do next is we're going to set our pre-sale to live. And so we're going to click that button, flip pre-sale state. It is a state change, so it requires gas. We're going to confirm. And then when that confirms, you'll see another blue text box up here that the sale state changed. So we're just going to wait a little bit. It can take up to a minute because, the blockchain is a little slow. I think it did that already, actually. Yep, so it flipped it without sending the message. It says pre-sales yes. So now we're going to go to our mint page. We're going to refresh. And now we see we're ready to connect our wallet because the pre-sale is live. So we're going to connect our wallet.
And again, this is very bare bones for demonstration purposes. This is just kind of, I would say, minimalistic at best, but this is just for demo purposes.
We have dreams of making this mint page like kind of like a Wix or a component library where you can make this look however you want it to look. We're ways away from that, but it is functional. It does mint on your whitelist and your public sale, allow list and public sale, and all of that. But yeah, so we connected our wallet. And now we can see, it doesn't let me put the plus or minus up. So either our limit was 1 or I might not be on the whitelist. So I'm going to click mint and see what happens. And it says I don't own a token that is eligible for this. I need to change that to allow list. And so I'm not a wunk holder in this paradigm here. So it's not allowing me to mint, which is by design. The last thing we want to show, just real quick, is the Merkle tree whitelist piece, allow list piece.
So with the wunks, and we're again changing the language here,
yes.
Changing the language here to be more inclusive, but. For the wunks kind of allow list, while we're in this beta period, we had kind of built in that you could be on the allow list if you were a wunk holder. But the contract owners do have the ability to set what that amount is. But we wanted it to be both beneficial for, wunk holders, for the community to have the opportunity to be on the allow lists for these community projects. So that was really by design. It was supposed to be something that was really mutually beneficial for the community and for project runners too, because it does give them an opportunity to also have access to our community. It doesn't, it obviously doesn't guarantee, success of a project. I think that's really project dependent and specific, and hopefully people are building successful communities on their own. But it was a really big value add for both wunks and some of the community projects that are being built here. So that was something that we have currently built into the system for the beta period of Blam specifically.
Exactly. And so the last thing we're just going to do is show you how to add to your Merkle tree allow list. Apologies, we were in the middle of renaming it, and I'm still deprogramming myself a bit. So what we're going to do is it's just a CSV file. One header and column is the address, and then the other column is a count of how many allow list spots they've earned, won, whatever what terminology you want to use there. So I'm just going to my desktop. I have this allow list.csv. And so what it did was it allowed these two addresses. One of them has earned 5 allow list spots, and the other one has earned 1. And so now with our pre-sale, our pre-sale with both the collector aspect and the Merkle tree aspect, these addresses can now go and mint, and they can mint up to 5 or 1. They don't have to mint that exact amount, but they can mint up to that amount based on how much they earned, based on whatever your community set up for, either giveaways, invite contests, or all those things. So that's pretty much the demo. I know that was pretty short, 30 minutes, but that's the entire start to finish of this entire process. Anybody want to ask anything or, give us any feedback?